morning briefing at Cascade National Forest headquarters concluded with the familiar rustle of papers and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. A ritual I'd performed for 20 years as operations coordinator. The cramped conference room, its walls lined with faded maps and weather charts, buzzed with the tension of the impending summer fire season. The eastern ridge had been parched for months, a tinderbox waiting for a spark, and every fire tower needed to be manned. I checked the equipment manifest one last time, my pen scratching against the clipboard with the precision of habit. Radios, binoculars, weather instruments, each item ticked off with the weight of experience, a shield against the chaos nature could unleash. Preparation, I'd learned, was the only defense against the unpredictable wilds. Supervisor Martinez strode in, her presence commanding the room like a general surveying her troops. Behind her trailed a figure, young, uncertain, out of place. "Everyone, this is Paul Lee," she announced, her voice a blade of authority honed by years of command. "He'll be taking Tower 5 this season." My pen froze mid-stroke, the ink pooling on the paper like a dark omen. Tower 5. I lifted my gaze slowly, my heart thudding against my ribs. The kid couldn't have been more than 27, standing awkwardly beside Martinez's imposing frame. His smile wavered, a fragile mask of someone desperate to please. Expensive hiking boots, fresh from a city retailer, clung to his feet, the price tag still peeking out like a neon sign of inexperience. His backpack, pristine and catalog-ready, screamed of urban naivety rather than the rugged backcountry. 15-year lookout veteran Mike Dawson suddenly found the wall map fascinating, his eyes tracing lines he'd memorized years ago. Teresa Wong stared into her coffee mug as if it held the secrets of the universe. No one met Paul's gaze. The air thickened with unspoken dread, a collective memory hanging heavy. Martinez continued, "This is Roger Johnson, our operations coordinator. He'll get you set up with the final details before your deployment tomorrow." I nodded, masking the unease coiling in my gut. "Welcome aboard," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing within. "Let's go through your assignment details." I led him to my office, a cluttered sanctuary of weather reports, topographical maps, and personnel files stacked like the ghosts of past seasons. Paul settled into the chair across from me, his hands fidgeting with the straps of that untouched backpack. I noticed the way he shifted, the nervous energy of someone untested. "What's your background in forestry?" I asked, already sensing the answer in his posture. "Oh, this is actually my first Forest Service job," he admitted with a shaky laugh. "I was working in software development in Portland until a few months ago. After my breakup, I just needed to get away. You know, somewhere quiet to think." The words landed like a punch. Tower 5 was no sanctuary for a man fleeing personal demons. Tower assignments typically go to experienced personnel, I said carefully, measuring each word. Especially the remote locations like Tower 5. It's a challenging post. Limited access, minimal supply runs, and you'll be completely alone most of the time. Paul nodded too quickly, his eagerness a red flag. "That's exactly what I'm looking for. The isolation sounds perfect after everything." I unfolded a map across my desk, pointing to a lonely spot near the eastern boundary. "Tower 5 is here. 6-hour hike from the nearest access road. No cell service, radio contact only, and that gets spotty during storms." As he studied the map, I stepped out to confront Martinez. I found her in the copy room, wrestling with a jammed machine, her arms folded in frustration. "A word," I asked, keeping my voice low. She sighed, following me into the hallway. "What's the problem, Johnson? Tower 5 for a rookie with 0 experience?" Her face hardened. "We're down 3 experienced lookouts from last season. Fisher retired, Okafor took a position with BLM, and Santiago's on medical leave. We need eyes on the eastern ridge." I countered, "There are 4 other towers with eastern visibility. Tower 5 has the best sight lines to the drought zones," she said firmly. "This isn't up for debate. The last person we stationed there had a documented history of mental health issues." Martinez cut me off. The investigation concluded he likely walked off during that storm. Sometimes people can't handle the isolation. Lee's psych evaluation came back clean. I'd read the official report too thin, evasive. It didn't explain why the previous lookout's belongings remained neatly arranged, or why his vehicle sat abandoned at the trailhead when the search began. "Look," Martinez said, her tone softening. "I know you take personal responsibility for everyone in the field. That's why you're good at your job, but Tower 5 is just a lookout post like any other. The stories are just that. Stories made up by bored rangers during long shifts." Back in my office, Paul traced the trail to Tower 5 with his finger. "This route looks straightforward enough," he said, looking up as I entered. I nodded. "The trail is well marked for the first 8 miles. After that, it narrows and gets steep. We'll go through the detailed maps after lunch." He hesitated. The woman at orientation mentioned something about Tower 5 being special. She wouldn't elaborate. I kept my expression blank. Every tower has its quirks. The metal structures make noise as they heat and cool. Wildlife sometimes takes shelter underneath during storms. Nothing to worry about. Paul relaxed visibly. "Oh, good. I thought maybe there was some reason it hadn't been used recently." I shifted the subject to the equipment checklist, ensuring he was outfitted for the isolation ahead. Through my office window, I glimpsed the other lookouts moving with purpose, avoiding our direction. No one wanted to bear the burden of Tower 5's tales. By late afternoon, I'd covered the basics of fire spotting, weather logging, and radio protocols with Paul. He was a quick study, meticulous, eager, impressive under different circumstances. "We'll head out at 7 tomorrow morning," I said as we wrapped up. "The hike to the junction point takes about 4 hours. From there, you'll continue to Tower 5 while I head to Tower 3. "Great," Paul replied, shouldering his inadequate pack. "Thanks for all your help today." I watched him walk toward the bunkhouse, his designer pants creased from a store shelf, oblivious to what awaited. In the break room, I poured coffee, hoping the caffeine would dispel the knot in my stomach. Mike Dawson entered, glancing over his shoulder. "They're really sending that kid to 5? I nodded, sipping my mug. "Does he know anything about?" Mike trailed off, shaking his head. "Never mind. Not my business." "Martinez says we need the eastern coverage," I said. "There are other towers," Mike muttered. We stood in silence, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead. "Maybe the stories are just stories," he said, but his tone betrayed his doubt and mine. That night, I retrieved the file on Tower 5's previous occupant from the records room. The official report was sparse search and rescue statements, weather data, Martinez's closure recommendation. It omitted the radio transmission I'd received that night, a voice that didn't sound entirely human. I returned the file and packed for the morning, my mind wrestling with unproven rumors and a cold dread. 20 years in these woods had taught me the forest spoke in ways official reports ignored. Sleep eluded me, and when my alarm buzzed at 5 a.m., I'd snatched only a couple of hours. The eastern sky hinted at dawn as I double-checked the route to Tower 5. Paul waited at the trailhead, bouncing on his heels, his overstuffed pack dangling with clipped items. "Morning," he called, adjusting his brand-new hat. "Ready for the big hike?" "Weather's good," I replied, noting the clear sky. "Let's move while it's cool." We set off at a steady pace, the trail wide and maintained at first, narrowing as we climbed. Birds sang in the canopy, a morning chorus masking the unease beneath. "Any tips for a first-timer?" Paul asked after an hour. "Establish a routine early," I said. "Set times for checks, maintenance, meals. Structure helps when days blur." He nodded, stepping over a fallen log. "Like creating my own workday." "Exactly, and pay attention to your thought patterns. Isolation affects people differently than they expect." "How so?" I sidestepped a mud patch. "Your brain expects constant input, conversations, traffic, noise. When that vanishes, it sometimes creates its own." "You mean like hallucinations?" Paul asked, skeptical. "More like misinterpretations. Wind through windows sounds like whispers. Branches against the tower sound like scratching. Natural noises get processed as human because that's what your brain expects. Paul drank from his water bottle. I'm pretty good at being alone. After my breakup, I spent weeks barely talking to anyone. City alone is different from forest alone, I said. In Portland, you're never more than a few hundred feet from someone. Out here, it's miles. Your nearest neighbor will be me at Tower 3, a 4-hour hike away. The trail steepened, and conversation faded. Paul's breathing grew heavier, but he kept pace without complaint. Around midday, we reached the junction. His path east to Tower 5, mine north to Tower 3. We split here, I said, pointing to the fork. Your trail follows that ridge. About 3 more hours if you keep your pace. Paul studied his map. Looks straightforward enough. I handed him an extra emergency radio. Take this. It's not standard, but it has better range in bad weather. He turned it over. What's wrong with the regular radio? Nothing. This is insurance. Tower 5's location sometimes gets reception interference during storms. Thanks, he said, tucking it into his pack. Remember your protocols. Morning check at 0800, evening at 2000. Additional reports for smoke sightings or unusual activity. Define unusual, he asked, smiling slightly. I watched a hawk circle overhead, framing my response. Fire behavior, wildlife patterns. Anything that seems off. Off? He repeated. Very scientific. You develop instincts out here, I said, unsmiling. If something doesn't feel right, trust that feeling. Paul nodded politely, adjusting his pack. I'll keep that in mind. Has Martinez mentioned anything about Tower 5's history? Just that it hasn't been used for a few seasons, he said. His eyebrows lifted. Why? Is there something I should know? Here was my chance to warn him, protocol be damned. But what could I say? That lookouts reported hearing things that weren't there? That the last occupant vanished after reporting someone climbing the stairs? It has a reputation among the veterans, I said finally. Stories get passed around, especially about the remote towers. What kind of stories? The usual ghost tales, strange noises, mysterious lights, figures in the trees. Paul laughed, sharp in the quiet forest. I don't believe in ghost stories. I'm more worried about bears than boogeymen. I nodded, unable to share his certainty. Follow the ridge trail. Tower 5 will be visible once you clear the tree line. Can't miss it. We parted ways, Paul hiking east, me north. I stopped after 50 yards, watching his red backpack vanish around a bend. The worry in my chest didn't lift. My tower greeted me with creaking steps and the musty smell of months closed up. I set up efficiently, the evening bringing the first radio check. All towers reported in sequence, Paul's voice clear. Tower 5 established and operational. No smoke sightings, visibility at 18 miles. Over. 3 days passed without incident. His reports routine, his meticulous nature shining through. I began to wonder if my fears were exaggerated. If the stories were just that, stories. On the 4th night, as I completed the final check, the radio crackled. Tower 5 to Tower 3. Go ahead, Tower 5, I responded. A pause stretched through the static. Someone walked up my tower stairs tonight, Paul said, his voice tight. I sat up. Repeat that. About an hour after sunset. Distinct footsteps on the metal stairs. Human footsteps. Roger. Slow and deliberate. Did you see anyone? I went down to check. Nobody there. I searched the perimeter with my spotlight. Nothing. I noted the time and details. Any wildlife activity today? Just deer and squirrels. Nothing large enough to make those sounds. Metal structures make noise as they cool after sunset, I said, steadying my voice. Temperature changes cause expansion and contraction, create sounds that resemble footsteps. This wasn't random creaking, he insisted. It was purposeful. Bears sometimes investigate towers, I offered. They're curious animals. It wasn't a bear. The edge in his voice sharpened. Isolation plays tricks on your mind, I continued, forcing casualness. Your brain searches for patterns, processes unfamiliar noises as recognizable. The radio fell silent. Yeah, he finally responded. Makes sense. He didn't sound convinced. Try to get some rest. First week is always the hardest. Right? Tower 5 out. The following evening, Paul's check-in came late. I was about to initiate a wellness call when the radio activated. Tower 5 to Tower 3. Tower 3 receiving. You're late on check-in. Sorry, Paul said, distracted. I've been watching something strange. My fingers tightened. What are you seeing? Lights in the trees surrounding the tower. Been there about an hour. They don't move like flashlights. More like they're floating. Could be reflected moonlight on dew, I suggested, or distant headlights catching moisture. Maybe, he conceded. But they seem to respond when I shine my light at them, like they're watching. I closed my eyes, fighting the memory of the last transmission from Tower 5's previous occupant. Any unusual sounds accompanying the lights? A pause. No, he said finally. It's completely silent. That's what makes it weirder. Keep your doors secured tonight, I advised. Maintain regular communication. Will do. Tower 5 out. I logged the facts, avoiding explanation. With each call, Paul changed. His voice tensed, his reports grew erratic, mixing creepy details with routine data. Tower 5 to Tower 3. Barometric pressure falling. 20% cloud cover moving east to west. Wind at 8 knots from the northwest. Pause. The scratching on the roof started again last night. Visibility 18 miles with high fire risk in sectors 4 and 7. I reported my concerns to Martinez via secure channel, focusing on his mental state. First-timer jitters, she dismissed. They all go through it. Give him another week to acclimate. But I recognized the pattern. Footsteps, lights, soon whispers, then laughter in the dark. I pointed my binoculars toward the eastern ridge, where Paul sat alone, watching lights that shouldn't exist, something unraveling his reality. At 12:03 a.m., the radio crackled. I'd been reviewing weather patterns, still awake in the strange nighttime stillness of my tower. Tower 5 to Tower 3. Paul's voice was a whisper. Tower 3 receiving. Go ahead, Paul. There's someone watching me, he said, tense, standing just beyond where my spotlight reaches. When I turn the light off, I hear them moving closer. I moved to my eastern window, though Tower 5 was beyond sight. Are you certain it's not wildlife? Bears sometimes. It's not a bear, he cut me off. It's shaped like a person, standing perfectly still until I look away. Have you attempted contact? I kept my tone professional. A bitter laugh crackled through. You want me to go out there and say hello to whatever's circling my tower? No, I said quickly. Stay inside. Keep your door secured. Any hikers registered in your area? Nobody signed in for weeks. I checked my logs 3 times. I heard his shaky breath. Roger, I'm not imagining this. It's been out there for hours, watching like it's waiting. I believe you, I said, meaning it. Document everything. Use your camera if possible. I'll report this and check back in an hour. Thanks, he said, relieved. Tower 5 out. His report followed the feared progression. Footsteps, lights, now a watcher. I called headquarters, waking Martinez. This better be important, Johnson. Paul Lee at Tower 5 reports a suspected intruder, I said, sticking to facts. Unknown individuals circling his tower after dark, requesting protocol advice. First-timers always get jumpy, she laughed. Has he actually seen someone, or is he hearing things? He says he's seen a figure beyond spotlight range. Probably a deer or his own shadow, she said. You know how it is out there. The mind plays tricks. This is the 3rd unusual incident in under a week, I pressed. I'd like permission to review incident reports from Tower 5's previous occupants. Any specific reason? Pattern recognition, I said carefully. If there are environmental factors unique to Tower 5 causing perceptual issues, we should document them. Fine, she relented. I'll authorize access, But don't fill Lee's head with ghost stories. An hour later, Paul reported the figure vanished after our call. But he hadn't slept, watching the trees until morning. I advised rest, knowing paranoia and sleeplessness could unravel him. The next morning, I dove into the archives at headquarters. The Forest Service's records, dating to Tower 5's construction in 1953, were meticulous. Weather patterns, fire reports, maintenance logs. But deeper, I found anomalies. 3 previous lookouts quit mid-assignment. Official reasons citing personal issues or health, but internal notes revealed hearing things and paranoid behavior. Michael Garner's 2015 file included a psychiatric evaluation. Voices, watchers, found wandering 17 miles from his post, insisting something hunted him. Dr. Eleanor Reed, who cleared Paul, wrote that note. By mid-afternoon, my desk overflowed with files. Tower 5's history, a litany of psychological breakdowns unacknowledged officially. My radio beeped. Tower 5 to Tower 3. Paul's voice was thin, strained. "It's back," he said. "But it's different now." "Different how?" "It's mimicking me," he rushed. "When I wave, it waves back. When I raise my right arm, it raises its right arm. It's mocking me." I closed my eyes, recalling Garner's identical report. "Where exactly do you see it?" "At the edge of the clearing, just where the trees start. I can see it right now." "What time is it there?" "Almost 4. Sun will be setting soon. Go inside, lock your door, and stay there until morning," I ordered. "I need to know what it is," he insisted, desperation creeping in. "Paul, listen. Your safety is priority. I'll be there tomorrow with the supply drop. We'll investigate together in daylight." "Okay," he agreed after a pause. "But I'm not crazy, Roger." "I know you're not," I said firmly. Tower 3 out. I spent the night piecing together Tower 5's troubled past. The similarities too stark to be coincidence. At dawn, I hiked to Paul's position, deciding on honesty. He deserved to know he wasn't the first. Tower 5 gleamed in the afternoon sun, ordinary yet ominous. "Supply delivery," I shouted, climbing the stairs. Paul appeared, red-rimmed eyes and uneven stubble marking a change. The interior showed disorder. Unwashed cups, an unmade bed, erratic handwriting in his log. "You look like you haven't been sleeping," I said, unpacking supplies. "Would you sleep if something circled your tower every night?" He replied, running a hand through his hair. "It waits until dark, then moves around. Sometimes I hear it on the stairs, but nothing's there." I nodded, setting out batteries and canned goods. "Tell me everything from the beginning." Paul paced, words tumbling out. Footsteps, lights, the mimicking figure. "I've started testing it," he said, trembling. "Last night, I raised my hand, counted to 3, then waved. It did the same, even waited the 3 seconds. "Have you captured photos?" I asked. He showed me blurry images, 3 hinting at a shadow among the trees. "It's clearer at dusk," he said, checking his watch. "You can see for yourself." His feverish edge worried me, but I agreed to observe. We waited as the sun dipped, Paul growing agitated by the western window. "It always comes from that direction," he said, pointing to dense pines. As dusk deepened, he hissed, "There, by the tallest pine. Do you see it?" I stared, nothing but wind-blown branches. "Paul, there's nothing there but trees," I said carefully. "It's right there," he insisted, pointing forcefully. Standing still, watching us. Binoculars revealed only forest. "I'm not crazy," he said, voice rising. "I believe you're experiencing something," I said, "but I can't see it." He slumped. "So you think I'm hallucinating?" "The mind is complex," I hedged, then shared the archive findings, the pattern, the abandoned posts, the psychosis diagnoses. "So this tower drives people crazy?" he asked. "There's a history of similar experiences here," I said. "What it means, I don't know. If others saw it, it's real," he insisted. "Or it's something about Tower 5 affecting perceptions." I thought, but held back, seeing his need for validation. "I want to complete my assignment," he said firmly. "I'm not running away." "Are you sure?" There's no shame in reassignment. I'm not crazy, he repeated. I'll prove it next time. I'll document everything, time, location, behavior, like a scientific study. I disliked it but respected his choice. More frequent checks, morning, noon, night, plus any time you see or hear anything unusual. He nodded, tension easing. Night fell and I stayed setting up on the floor. If something came, it would face me first. We talked until he slept, exhausted. I watched the forest, hearing only wind and animals. At dawn, I packed Paul better but haunted. Radio checks 3 times daily, I reminded him. Call if you need me. I will, he promised. Thanks for not dismissing me. I nodded, uneasy, and hiked back, the forest feeling altered, its trails hinting at unseen dangers. A weather report warned of a severe storm crossing the eastern ridge by nightfall. I alerted all towers, Paul acknowledging calmly, his tone off. Maybe the rain will wash it away, he mused. Wash what away? I asked. Nothing, just thinking out loud. His calmness unnerved me. The storm hit at 9 p.m., rain blinding, wind creaking the tower. At 9:45, hourly checks confirmed all secure, Paul reporting wind damage and rain. How are you holding up? I asked. Fine, he said. It's peaceful. The rain drowns out other sounds. I noted his odd response. Lightning struck at 10:13, thunder shaking my tower. At 10:17, Paul's voice broke through. Panicked. It's here, under my tower. Laughing. Clarify? I asked. I've been listening to it circle for 10 minutes, he said. The storm brought it closer. Take a deep breath, I urged. A person under your tower? Not a person, he whispered. It's coming up the stairs now. Counting 1, 2, 3. Lightning cut the transmission. I fought static, Paul whispering he was hiding under the floorboards. A scraping sound, then breathing, not human, drowned the storm. Oh God, it knows I'm here, he said, then silence. I called headquarters requesting rescue. Weather prohibits helicopter approach, Martinez said. Ground team at first light, 8 hours. I protested, but protocol held. I tried reaching Paul every 15 minutes, plotting suicide mission routes. At 4:13 a.m., a distorted Blackwood in Paul's voice, then laughter, silenced the channel. Dawn brought the search team. Tower 5 was intact, Paul's belongings neat, his log meticulous, except a note of reflective eyes 3 days prior. The search found footprints ending abruptly. Dogs lost the scent. 3 days yielded nothing. Martinez closed the case as voluntary departure during psychological distress, citing concealed anxiety records. I argued the transmission, but evidence was dismissed as storm interference. I spent my last night in Tower 5, feeling Paul's orderliness, knowing it defied the breakdown narrative. 2 months later, Tower 5 was reassigned to Daniel Ortiz. I confronted Martinez, who revealed psychological profiles of past occupants, including Paul's hidden issues. Daniel, like Paul, was eager, unprepared. I gave him a satellite phone, watching a figure track him through the forest. He reported nothing unusual, but I hiked to his tower, hearing laughter and Paul's distorted voice. Daniel slept, safe that night, but the mystery deepened. Could you face the isolation of Tower 5, or would its shadows consume you? What would you do if you heard that laughter in the dark?